now. All right. And then, so let's see, everybody's in. All right. Well, I guess I will start. I'm going to share my screen to go ahead and get everybody in this space. So welcome to the Elevate Lab. Our focus today is radical self-care. My name is Keyshawn Rains. I'm representing Soho Home Wellness, and then Thrive Health Lab. We have Lanicia Vicnair in the room with us. So I just wanted to say, again, thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for setting aside an hour of your day on a Sunday to be able to deep dive a little bit more into a conversation about self-care. We've put together a really dope panel and some women who are offering their time and their resources and their wisdom to be able to support you in developing a self-care practice of your own. I want to tell you a little bit about what the Elevate Lab is. I got this before Lala sent it to me, so I hope it makes sense. The Elevate Lab is part of the programming that's available through Thrive Health Lab. And it's an intentional gathering that aims to encourage and empower communities through education and productive programming centered around holistic well-being. And I'm super grateful and privileged that Lanicia reached out and said, hey, let's do a collab Elevate Lab. And I'm like, hell yeah. So here we are. So the goal for conversation today is to define self-care, debunk some of the myths about it, and share simple practices for creating a lifestyle that's rooted in radical self-care. I can't wait to hear what we get to say about this. I'm going to start with just a quick little definition for folks who are like, what the hell is self-care anyway? It's one of those trendy terms that we're hearing all the time. Self-care has been defined as the process of taking care of oneself with behaviors that promote health and active management of illness when it occurs, which is what Wikipedia said, which I found kind of interesting. Management of illness when it occurs, like we don't take care of ourselves until we're sick. We're going to get into that more. Radical has been defined as relating to or affecting the fundamental nature of something, far-reaching or thorough, according to the Oxford Dictionary. So just to give you a little taste, this is what we're going to be diving into a little bit deeper today. But before we go all the way in, I want to introduce my panelists. I'm going to pass the mic to Lanicia. Will you tell us a little bit about yourself, what brings you here today, and what you're hoping to get out of today's conversation?
Hey guys, my name is Lanicia Vicnair, also known as Coach Lala. What was my question again? What am I doing here?
What you doing here? No.
I just really have a passion for trying to encourage others, especially those in the BIPOC community, to be the best version of themselves and give them the tools that may not be readily available to them all the time. And what I hope to get out of this is maybe even getting some other ideas of radical self-care from other powerhouses. That's it.
Okay, I'm going to pass the mic to Kenya.
Unmute myself. Hi, ladies. It's good to see you. It's good to meet you. My name is Kenya Mcguire Johnson is my full name, and I'm based out of Chicago. I'm a certified health, wellness, and mindset coach. I'm also an artist, singer and songwriter. And so just for some context, I really am about curating safe spaces for, yes, BIPOC communities as it relates to self-care. And so I'm really into creating retreats, healing circles, discussions like this, master classes. So this is really kind of self-care is the whole point of what I do. Like that's the whole point. So yeah, I'm just looking forward to hearing more from, the panelists as well as our guests, and just, keeping the space really safe and supportive. So that is me.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Kenya.
Sure.
I'm going to pass the mic to Carly.
Hey y'all, my name is Kylie. If y'all hear a twang, I am from Oklahoma, located in Los Angeles, but I'm obviously from Oklahoma by the way that I sound. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach, and what that means is it's not just your body, it's not just your mind. You got a heart, you got emotions, you got a spirit. And so my company is called Holistically Dope. I do holistic health and wellness programming for schools, both the students, the teachers, and the administrators. And then I go into companies and teach around self-love, self-care, like how to create a toolkit of things that works for you, because we're all different. And I'm different than the yesterday version of myself, and I'm different from the tomorrow version of myself. And then also around stress resiliency. Sometimes we can't stop stress, but we can control how we respond to everything in life. And so it's building up strengths and like essentially a toolkit to help you deal with all of those things. I also do products. So my whole life is about self-care. So I do body butters, essential oils, got some other stuff coming up, but it's all about like how you can create a life that you love and feel like the best version of yourself. And I'm just excited to learn, to share in this safe space with all of you amazing women here.
Yay. Thank you, Carly. And last but not least, I'm going to pass the mic to my girl, Gigi. Take it away.
Hey, all right. Unmute myself. Can y'all hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Awesome. I am Gigi Evans. I am located in Cleveland, born and raised, and apparently can't go nowhere for the next 8 years because my daughter is in school. So I'm just here. But I am the owner and solopreneur of God's Gift Holistic Healing Services. And I do the same thing, essentially, really in alignment with, I believe it was Carly. So I deal with the spirit, but I run energy through asana. I'm a yoga instructor. So I run energy, Christ energy through the yoga asana. I'm also a Bible teacher, and I teach people how to ground in truth and move throughout life in a very loving and compassionate way. So I just help people create more love in their life. I'm a love generator, y'all.
I love it. A love generator. Yay. So this is everybody. You guys probably all know me, but I will introduce myself for those who might not know. I'm Keyshawn Rains, and I am the Calm Coach and the owner of Soham Wellness, which is a holistic lifestyle and business consulting service. I essentially help people where they're hurting, whether it's financial, whether it's relational, spiritual. I do my best to guide people into a place of calm so that they can really embrace a sense of well-being. And I am super happy to be on this virtual stage with all you amazing women. So we're going to dive right in, and I'm going to share my screen with you again. There's everybody. Hey, we look good. We look good. Look at all those brown, beautiful faces. I love it. So we're going to get into our conversation today. So again, what I mentioned a little bit earlier is today we're going to define, debunk, and offer some guidance. So when we think about defining radical self-care, which we talked about a little bit earlier, I want to hear from my panelists. So I'm going to popcorn style, but I'm going to pass the mic first to Kenya. And I would like you to share with us, what is your definition of self-care?
My definition of self-care is really, it's that essential space that we create to really nurture ourselves. And I say essential because I think that we have to, I was just using this example in a room discussion yesterday on Clubhouse. I think we've gotten used to understanding self-care as if we think of like a plant, and the plant has leaves and it has tulips and it has all the bloom and the pretty flower part, we go and take care of that. But that plant has no chance of really living unless the root and the soil is actually really rich. And so self-care to me is the soil. It's the, it's us getting to that essential part that actually is what allows us to bloom. So to me, I think finally COVID has maybe picked a hole into kind of getting rid of this myth of self-care only being tending to the outer, or these external spaces of achieving self-care, or these temporary transactional things. Self-care is extremely transformational to me. So that's how I know that's a long definition, but I need to use the analogy because it's that essential part of that really is what nurtures us.
I like that. I like that. How about you, Carly? How do you define self-care?
Man, I love the analogies. That just helps, all of us understand and get on the same page. I have one, and it's self-care is whatever you need to do to keep your cup full. And that looks different than all of us. But I think the pandemic showed us that a lot of us was out here running around on E, running around with broken, cracked, empty, holes in our cups, and showed the necessity, nature. I love that you said essential. Like self-care is essential. We grew up in a time and in a society where, self-care was you get a massage because it's a treat every once in a while. Maybe you go get your nails done every once in a while, but you shouldn't really be spending that money because you got to pay bills and take care of stuff. And it's like, no, like just because our grandparents and our parents, and maybe even us have lived in a time where, it's been deemed like a luxury. Self-care is not a luxury. It's a necessity to your everyday life to operate at your highest being and to love yourself. Because if your cup is not full, how can you ever expect to pour into other people? And then the definition of radical self-care, which I Googled before this, because, I'm a nerd like Keyshawn and I love it. Indiana University said it is taking care of yourself before others. And that's interesting to me because I didn't think that that's what the definition of that was. But I'll end with that. And then there's a quote, I think it's Audre Lorde, please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but self-care is an act of political warfare, like taking care of yourself and loving on yourself. And so, in a society that tells us, especially as like Black and brown women, that, we don't matter, especially Black women, that y'all don't matter, that you're not important, you're the least to have access and healthcare and all of these things. We can spit out stats all day, but it's like, in a society where it frames you like you're not worth anything, to take care of yourself is a radical act. It is political warfare.
Absolutely. It's an act of rebellion in a lot of ways. So yeah, I hear that. All right. How about you, La? Will you tell us your definition of self-care?
My definition of self-care is doing something that you want to do that's going to make you feel good. Quick and simple.
I love that. I love that. And Gigi, share with us what your definition of self-care is.
My definition of self-care is, how can I simplify this? It is the action you take in order to feel the most freedom in your life. So self-care to me is whatever action or response to life you give it, the response that is going to vibrate freedom for you, right? So yeah,
I like
my
that.
definition. Yeah.
I like that. Thank you for that. So it's interesting because before this conversation started, I started to put together a list of what I thought were some self-care truths and self-care myths. And in the definitions that you guys have just shared, we kind of touched on a couple of them. So I just want to share a little bit. So the first one is that the myth of self-care often is that self-care is an indulgence. And like to Carly's point, that it's like get a massage every once in a while or do something good for yourself every now and then. Whereas the truth is that self-care is essential, and that meaningful self-care includes making mindful changes in the patterns of thought, behaviors, and anything that don't contribute to your well-being. Like Willa said, it's the simple thing of doing something for yourself. It doesn't always have to be this big extravagant thing. Another myth that I saw was that self-care is selfish, that if you're taking care of yourself, you're somehow doing something that's wrong or detrimental to other people, when in truth, self-care is responsible. When you make time for yourself and you get sufficient rest and you feel more energetic, you'll be able to do more for yourself as well as those around you. And the last myth that I saw was that self-care is sporadic, that it is that every now and then, every once in a while thing, when in truth, self-care is ongoing. And looking after yourself is an ongoing practice to build that stress resilience to face the hardships and avoid burnout. So I want to go to the women on the panel and ask, what are some myths that you had about self-care and how did you overcome those myths? Let's start with Carly.
Man, self-care is selfish. Growing up, not having a lot of things, we tend to become givers and caretakers of others. And I always felt like, if I wasn't doing for somebody else, like if I'm not doing for somebody else, then what I'm doing is not worth it. It's like, I always have to be running on E, building everybody else up. And then that runs us into the ground, essentially. And you start to become resentful, you start to feel unappreciated, you start to feel hurt. And so I kind of transformed that by challenging my own definition of self-love and self-care. About 10 years ago this year, my mentor was like, "Do you love yourself?" And I was like, "Duh, doesn't everybody love themselves?" And then I started thinking about it and I was like, I don't even know what that really means. So through this whole journey, it's like, finding what works for you and doing it solely for the joy of that. And that it's an ongoing process.
I like that. How many times do we ask ourselves, do you actually love yourself? And when someone asks you that, you almost feel like the audacity. How dare you ask me such a question until you really sit with it. So yeah, I hear that. I hear that loud and clear. How about you, La? What are some myths that you had about self-care and how did you overcome them?
I always alluded self-care to luxury things before. I didn't think of self-care like I'm a meditate. I'm a just sit and stare at the wall for a second in silence because I've had such a busy life. Like to me, in a way, that's a myth. Like I just thought self-care was I had to spend money to take care of myself, and I absolutely don't.
That's real. That it's actually accessible and it's available and it doesn't require a whole lot outside of yourself. I hear that. How about you, Gigi? What are a myth I would say that you had about self-care and how did you overcome that?
A myth. I had 100 surrounding self-care. But the biggest contender was I go last. So I'll take care of everything else and I only get to care for myself once everybody has their feel of me. So that was the biggest like cognitive dissonance I had. It was like, but my mother, she always put everybody before her. Like that's how you love. You put yourself last. It's self-sacrifice. That part, self-sacrifice.
Ooh, that's juicy. That's juicy. That's one like, ooh. So putting myself last doesn't mean that I care for everybody else more. It's actually a little bit of the reverse. So how about you, Kenya? Let's round us out. What is a myth that you had about self-care and how did you overcome that?
I'm still lingering on Gigi's self-sacrifice because I know that as a mom, you're almost taught you got to sacrifice yourself for your children. Like you can't be. And that was a real eye-opener for me when my spiritual coach finally said, "No, baby doll, you can't keep being the sacrificial lamb." But I guess pretty much everything what everybody has said. I think a big myth I really had was this idea that it had to be external and that you only do it, you do it once a month and if you're lucky. I didn't understand how much the internal work was. And I will say that I'm just now, as I'm evolving in self-care, understanding that self-care doesn't always mean self-reliant, meaning having somebody come in and do the groceries, having somebody clean your home, that's a form of self-care. It doesn't always have to come from just me doing always the deep, deep internal, but asking for my needs from other people is another form of self-care. So I think that's where I'm getting to now, trying to dispel that myth.
I hear that. And I think even asking for help is an act of self-care. Asking for assistance is an act of self-care. It's going back to that understanding that doing something for ourselves doesn't always mean that we're the one doing the doing beyond the ask. So the last myth that I wanted to share that I found during my deep dives is that self-care is time consuming, that we have to chunk out another thing on our schedule, add another thing to our to-do list. And the truth is that self-care is accessible and that it doesn't require you to take a huge chunk of time out of your busy day. You can microdose self-care, and y'all know I'm a fan of microdosing. I like little tiny little bits of things that have huge impacts. So I wanted to talk a little bit. Oh no, we're not there yet. Just kidding. We ain't done. Don't we ain't done yet. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what are some of your, maybe like 1 to 2 of your best practices for self-care that don't take huge chunks of time? Let's start with Lala.
Okay. I actually did it today. One thing that since the pandy has hit and I realize it's essential to my soul and life, is just taking a few moments to do a breathing exercise, which I realize calms my mind. Because as soon as I wake up, I'm like on the go in my brain, and that causes me to maybe get anxiety or feel overwhelmed. So I do some breathing exercises through this app called Headspace. And then I go through a guided meditation. It can range from 5 to 10 minutes. And then something that I did today, I realize is a game changer for me. Movement is very important for me, just to get my heart rate up and to break a little sweat and to just get my body going. It does something to me. I don't know if everybody is like this, but like I just spent literally 10 minutes just going up and down some stairs, like running up them. And then I was like, okay, I feel good. I have a great energy and great positive attitude for today. So those are my little things that have been working for me lately.
I like that. I like that. How about you, Kenya? What are some self-care methods that you're using that don't take a whole lot of time?
Yeah, I would say the newest thing that I'm doing, and I don't know, it just makes me feel good. It's kind of like what Lau was just saying, just doing those steps. But I have been doing incense, and then I have a new, what's the thing called? This is awful. I should know what it's called, where you put the essential oils in it,
Oh, diffuser.
diffuser.
Yeah.
I'll go in places, I'm like, oh, it just feels so good. I'm like, Kenya, you have a diffuser. Like, why aren't you I got to just put water in the thing and plug it up. Like, why aren't you doing that? And so now that I'm working like remotely 100% and everything, I have my diffuser right next to me. And so with, the lavender, eucalyptus, whatever, just that in itself, it's very simple. It's passive. And it just sets a mood, or I'll light, incense. So those are just really simple, easy, just to set my, mood. And I'm baths for me are also a huge part of my self-care. Soaks, and they don't take a little amount of time. I'm usually in there for about an hour when I'm there. But I do make a point to really include that, several times in my week.
I like that. Yeah, baths are, for me, like you said, it's more of a stewing, especially if you do like an herbal bath and you add your rose petals and your essential oils and your crystals. You're about to be in there like gumbo, just like stew for a while. And then, that might be like end of the day self-care versus like microdose in the middle of the day. How about you, Gigi? What are some of your self-care practices that don't take a whole lot of time that you can share with us?
I'm like Kenya. I take time on myself, honey. It take me 4 hours to even get out the house. I'd be like, I need all the love, long soaks, long prayers, like everything is extended. So I was like, this was almost hard for me. But what I have found is plant medicine is big in my life. Because I'm a water sign. Kenya probably like a Cancer or a Scorpio or something. She like to soak
You
in the
are
sun.
right on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. We like, that's what is grounding for us.
Yes.
The water is what makes us feel connected.
Yes.
I can't feel connected in the mountains. I'd be like, where the water at? Like, what it just rocks, like just rock. We just gonna be lumpy against each other like this. Where the flow at, right? But plant medicine is really good for me. I have 63 house plants, so I've been talking to plants for a long time. My mother is a plant priestess. But this apothecary called Resonance Apothecary, she's based in Cali. Her name is Miriam Hasna. I've been in her mystery school for 4 years, and every month she sends us a box, and it's got these cool herbs to support us with the like motions of the universe or whatever vibration we had to support us in that vibration, because it really is about vibration. So plant medicine, like whenever I'm feeling off, anxious, like I got to get moving, physical activity is big for me too. And she was like, it's physical, I have to move. So at least an hour of yoga, some type of like vigorous movement. I could even do 5 sun salutations, to be honest, just get it going. And these little drops, it's like a little tincture. I take like 4 of these on my tongue every couple of hours just to like even out the nerves, and ain't no drugs and nothing. And it's just, lavender and shit,
I like that. I like the drops. And I mean, if well, y'all are in California. In Texas is not quite as legal, but I am a fan of plant medicine, microdosing, whether it's, mushrooms or cannabis, whatever your, herb of choice is. I'm an advocate for that, especially because of the connection to the earth. It's like, this is not a medication or a drug or a pharmaceutical creation. This is another way for me to get grounded and reconnect with the earth. I too am a water sign, and I love a good stew as well. How about you, Carly? What are some self-care practices that you can share?
I'm the only fire sign on this entire panel full of water.
You are. I
signs.
noticed. I was like, Cancer, Scorpio. I mean, okay.
Sagittarius. But you know, I got all three.
Yes.
So that's so funny because one of mine is sunshine. I need my sun. Like, that's the thing that kind of got me through. And that's something quick you can add, even if you're standing outside for 5 minutes, quick walk around the block, quick, whatever, go put your feet in the grass, go touch a tree. I'm also a plant mommy. If you see all of my babies back here. So sun is, oh my God, it just makes me better. Like when I can't do anything else, if I can just walk around the block real quick, like that changes my life. The other 3 things real quick is the first one is the importance of spending time with yourself in the morning. Even if you have to get up early and go pour into other people, even if you take 5 minutes to yourself to pray, to journal, to take a cold shower, to massage your face and have a nice face routine, whatever brings you joy, make sure you intentionally spend time for yourself first. Because if not, I know I get grumpy and I am not a great person. By the end of the day, I get pissed if I just leave the last little bit of energy because I get home and I'm tired. So making sure I spend time with myself in the morning. And then just like little gratitude breaks throughout the day. Like if I notice that my breathing is shallow, I'll take a couple of breaths, think about something that I'm grateful for. I might even jot something down in my phone, or I might walk around the block. I'm like, God, thank you for these flowers. Man, this sunshine feels good on my skin. But that's just like little things to bring me back in the moment. So sunshine, spend time for yourself in the mornings, and then little breaks, like micro doses of gratitude, of sunshine, of time for yourself, like interwoven throughout your day.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Did I get everybody? Wait, did everybody go? Lala, did you? Everybody went? Okay. Okay, cool. Just making sure. So I want to share a little bit of this is what I mean when I say we're aligned, because I literally made this whole little presentation this morning before I heard anybody's answers. And that just lets me know we're on the same page, which I love. So if I look at self-care tactics, I like tactics. I like simple bullet points. I know Lala's a fan of bullet points as well. So I think of self-care tactics that don't take a lot of time is just taking a break. Like some everybody has mentioned, sometimes it's just taking a pause. Sometimes it's taking a walk outside. Sometimes it's talking to your plant. Sometimes it's talking to yourself or talking to God or prayer, whatever that looks like, is giving yourself a chance to take a break. Asking for help. Asking for help is one of the, I think, most overlooked self-care tactics, because we often think that if we're caring for ourselves, we have to do it for ourselves. But part of self-care is reaching out to someone and saying, I can't, I need, can you, please, will you, etc. Spending time alone. I love being by myself. I love being with people, but I also love being by myself. Forgiving yourself, giving yourself permission to say, oh, I didn't know that these things were important to me until I did. And now that I know better, I can do better. So I don't have to spend time beating myself up because I didn't do it right before. But forgiving yourself is something that might happen every day, because we are flawed beings. We make mistakes all the time. And giving ourselves permission to forgive ourselves is also an act of self-care. Saying no, or hell nah, whatever one feels better for you. Getting in the practice of recognizing that saying no and really tapping into the power of your no is a natural way of setting a boundary, which is a natural way of caring for yourself. Putting yourself first, asking exactly what you need. So when you're asking for help, that's one thing, but really saying, actually, what I need is this. Because sometimes people will offer help and you want to be gracious and say, wow, that's so cool, thank you so much. But what I actually need is this. That's an act of self-care. Setting boundaries, not just with your time, but with your energy, with your space, with your voice, with your everything, is setting a boundary and knowing that it's not meant to be a barrier against anybody, but it's really creating a safe space for you to care for you. Staying your ass at home. Now, granted, we all became professional stayers at home in the last 2 years. So I understand if you want to go outside. I get it. But sometimes it's saying no to the invitation to going to an event that you're like, I really don't want to go to this shit. Stay home. That's an act of self-care. That's okay. And the last is what Carly said, getting into the sunshine. Sunshine, vitamin D, that warm energy, even if you're in a colder climate, just being in the sunlight has a way of soothing and reactivating your soul on a really deep level. So those are some things that I came up with, and I'm just glad to know we're all on the same page. So I want to open up our space again with one more question, which is, what is a roadblock that you experience that might disrupt your practice of self-care? Let's start with Kenya.
Oh, how many roadblocks? There's, I think the ones that I face that just kind of stand out for me is one, being a mom, being a parent, and just constantly figuring out the balance of that. My boys are older now. I mean, they're a lot. One is in college, but one is still home with me, and he's a teenager though. So navigating, should I, so he kind of wants to his own space, but then I'm like, is he too isolated? Should I be coming in there? Tell him what. So just navigating that. And I know I can see myself when I do kind of get in my space of self-care. It's like, oh, I only spent though like an hour with him today, and I'll start getting in that kind of mindset. So I think that is. And then for me, quite to be completely honest, is this entrepreneurial life. And this, I still have a full-time, all day, that pays my mortgage, space as I continue to build. And that is probably my biggest challenge, is making sure that I'm setting things like, be the best boss to yourself that you can. Like, would somebody work for you? The way that you're treating yourself right now. So I'm working on it. It's a work in progress, but that's what
I hear that. And I believe everybody on the panel can relate to being an entrepreneur, creating one of the biggest roadblocks to self-care, because like you said, Kenya, is like asking yourself, am I treating myself as an employee the way that I would want to be treated if I were an employee? Or am I and a lot of times it's like, you don't ever get no days off. You don't get no sick time. Nope, ain't no break. Sorry, girl. I mean, we would report them to the labor union if we were their employee, right? So we have to recognize that for ourselves. So thank you for bringing it up. Gigi, what is a roadblock that comes up for you that can disrupt your self-care practice?
For me, it's self-forgiveness, because I have to say no so much now. And there's this sense of guilt that comes up every time. It's like, like you said no to somebody, you kept your love away. There's that voice in my head, like, you're not supposed to, not give all that you have to somebody else, even though I know that that's not it. So I have to constantly forgive myself for almost abandoning, what I'm building, or what I got going on, whatever I'm tending to. Because when I think of care, I think about tending to something, right? Because it needs attention. So if I'm caring for myself, it's because I need that attention right now, right? And I needn't feel bad for tending to something that needed my attention, So it's like this for me is forgiveness of, me choosing me.
I hear that. How about you, Lala? What's one of your self-care roadblocks that disrupts your practice?
You like my spin? Okay, listen, I had an epiphany this morning. I guess it was perfect for this panel. My roadblock is my work. And what I mean by that is I'm always so quick. Like, I almost didn't do my 10 minutes going up and down the stairs, because in my mind, that's 10 minutes. I could be working towards something that needs to get done, like prepping for the week for work or responding to some emails. Because as we all know, as an entrepreneur, there's always something to be done. It doesn't matter. So for me, I've noticed since I was a kid, though, I've always just thrown myself into work. Like, I've always just focused on my studies, and so outside of life, but I always was very laser focused on getting work done and getting things done. And to me, productivity is a sense of accomplishment. when sometimes I actually should be throwing myself into self-care versus throwing myself into this computer. So that is my roadblock, is my work.
I hear that. It's tricky because I too look at productivity as power. It's like I look at it like little power pellets on the Pac-Man game. The more little pellets of productivity that I eat up, the higher on my scoreboard that I am. And then I realize, just kidding, I'm tired. I don't want to eat no more pellets of productivity. I want to lay down. I need to take a nap. And so that's definitely a roadblock I can relate to. How about you, Carly? What are one of your self-care roadblocks?
I am my biggest roadblock. And I like what Naomi said about feeling if you've done enough, and this ties into productivity to warrant self-care. But here's the thing, self-care is not warranted. We are worthy whether we accomplish anything today or not, but that takes some unlearning. Like, I can say that and it sounds nice, but does it feel good if I spend the whole day laying in bed? But that's like the real mark of like knowing my worth, is like knowing that it doesn't go up or down based on what I do or don't do throughout the day. And so I would just say healing, like understanding why it's hard for me to ask for help, understanding why I do the things that I do, why I don't feel worthy of that, or why it's like, so all of these healing things are the roadblocks to self-care, because they're what keep me in this box of not taking the best care of myself possible. They're what, keeps me being a people pleaser or over giving and not pouring back into myself. They're what keeps me, from asking for help, because I don't want to get rejected. I don't want to be let down again, or I don't want to be whatever. But it's like, if you never open yourself up to that, then you can never receive. And it's like, so you really have to just face yourself every day. So I am my biggest support, and I am my biggest lover, and I am my biggest roadblock on this journey of self-care and healing.
I hear that. I am my biggest roadblock. I mean, the whole like get out of your own way, like as common and cliche as that sounds, that's like Bible gospel. Get out of your own way. You know what I'm saying? Because we be all up in our own way all the time. So the last thing I wanted to share, hear from, I would say from you all, is I am a big fan of affirmations. I love affirmations. I love language. I recognize that affirmations is also one of my self-care practices. So I wanted to know from my panelists, what is one of your self-care affirmations? For me, it's I'm caring for myself with compassion and patience. Being easy on myself, understanding that caring for myself and debunking a lot of those myths that we've talked about, unlearning some of those beliefs or practices that told me that putting myself last meant love, putting my kids before my own sanity meant I was taking better care of myself, or being more productive versus resting. Overcoming those things, a lot of that had to do with changing the language that I was reciting in my head through affirmations. So I would like to know from my lovely panelists. Let's start with Kenya. What is one of your self-care affirmations?
Oh boy, I guess probably that it's my birthright. Like, I find myself saying that, having to say that a lot, because I think as Black women, particularly, I feel like what's happening now generationally is this cycle of not resting, of not doing this self-care is real. Our ancestors are screaming, I think, at us at this point. And the scream I feel is, it's your birthright. Stop thinking that it's something that you have to work for or grow into. Like, this is you just being a soul automatically. It gives you the permission slip to take care of yourself however you feel. So I don't know if I just hear myself a lot saying, birthright, it's your birthright. Do this.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. How about you, La? What's one of your self-care affirmations?
I am worthy. Everything else aligns with that. So whenever I'm trying to make an excuse as, like I have to work so hard in order to go do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, no, I'm worthy. Or I can rest today. Like, you guys would be very proud of me who know me personally. I laid in the bed for like a whole hour before I actually got out. I was proud of myself. And I was like, I'm worthy of sitting here and not doing anything and not looking at my phone and not checking to see what work needs to be done. So just, I am worthy.
I love that. How about you, Carly? What's one of your self-care affirmations?
Man, I got a lot, but I'm gonna share two. You said one because I'm not good at following directions.
It's fine. It's Sagittarius. I understand.
One is I am enough exactly where I am without condition. So it doesn't matter if I lay in bed or if I get up and do something else. I am enough. And then another one, I challenge myself because sometimes if you say something and it doesn't feel real, they can be counterproductive. For example, if I say I'm a millionaire, we know, right? You not right now. So what I like is saying like, what if everything works out exactly the way I want it to? What if what I'm doing is enough? What if I am enough? Like, what if I am worthy of all of these things that I'm dreaming of? So if you don't quite believe in affirmation, I challenge you to try an affirmation. Because sometimes you can just start to ask those questions and build positive momentum instead of saying some stuff that you very vehemently are denying in your heart for whatever reason. So if you don't like affirmations, try affirmation.
That's what I'm talking about. Affirmations. We're bringing in new concepts here. I love it. Last but not least, Gigi, will you share one of your affirmations or information? Because I'm taking that, Carly. I'm writing it down. I will give you credit every time I use it, but I'm definitely taking that.
I like that. Mine is always, my go-to is always, I am a child of God. Because I feel like that covers it all. Of course, it's my birthright. I'm God's child, right? Of course, I deserve rest. I belong to God. Of course, I'm worthy of what I do. I'm God's kid. Of course, I'm going to be rich. I inherit the kingdom, right? Like, so I cover it all up with, I'm a child of God, and whatever fall in line with receiving the kingdom, that's what it is.
This is why. I mean, I love all of you for different reasons, but Gigi, she be bringing, she like, what else? What else is there? I dare you to try to not give me what I deserve. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm so excited. So we're going to start wrapping up our conversation here because I want to respect the time of everybody that's here. So for those, I feel like everyone who's watching right now probably already knows how to get in touch with everybody. But if you need to take a quick screenshot, but I feel like all of us know each other and the people that don't know us know how to find us. But just in case, this is everybody's Instagram. This is everybody who was on our panel today. I encourage you to reach out if you haven't already. If anybody shared anything today that really resonated with you, send her a DM, connect with her, get on her mailing list, tap into what she's offering, because everybody here is bringing something very unique and also very much aligned and complementary to one another. And before we go, I just want to ask everyone on the panel for just one takeaway from our conversation today that really stood out to you. And let's start with Gigi.
Kenya really stood out to me. I don't really know exactly what she said, but something sank in my heart space when you spoke today. So just your presence, because all the time, we're not always tuned into the lesson. Like, what exactly were the words that she said to change my life? You just like, in that moment, something connected in your soul and you were like, oh, okay. Like I was affirmed, I felt affirmed. So that's what stuck out to me. I just appreciate your energy. Yeah.
That's so funny. Okay, so Gigi, what is your sign?
I'm a Cancer.
You are a Cancer. Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm Cancer rising, but I'm a Scorpio.
Okay.
But I think
my mother is a Scorpio. Scorpio women have my heart. Like my first superhero was a Scorpio woman. She raised 9 amazing humans and tolerated my rusty daddy and his, abuse for don't know how long. They've been married for 40 years. So I just admire the strength and fluidity of the Scorpio sign. I love to see how much y'all are willing to sacrifice and y'all really knock a bitch head off for y'all kids. And like, I appreciate that. Like my mother was like, I wish somebody would with my 9. Like her mom was murdered and she was able to raise children without having that matriarch. She still was able to become that. So seeing that like in action, I just really feel like that you just resonate like heal, healthy Scorpio energy. I just appreciated your energy.
Gigi,
that.
I know.
Well, it's your turn now, Kenya. Now you
I mean, I was gonna say, there was so much shared, and I will say, Gigi, from the time that when the point of spirit and God. So for me, that is like the point also. So I think that resonated, and just kind of, and the other big thing that you also said that resonated with me is time. Like it's funny because we're all talking about astrology. Sagittarius is my Mercury. And so Mercury is like your mind and how you, and so I'm like, I always feel like, I'm like, take the time, slow down. You are a Scorpio. Allow that flow, allow that, even though my brain will want to do this and go and be over. So I think time is a big thing that and understanding that 4 hours, like when you said 4 hours to get out the house, I'm like, and there's no reason why I can't do that sometimes. Like there is time sometimes that I could do that. I'm just not valuing it. So I think that would take home. And I just want to that really makes my heart massive, Gigi, really, really massive, because, and thank you, Keyshawn, for doing this space, because I think for me, most of the circles of women outside of kind of these healing entrepreneurial spaces, it's hard to find community like this where you can, I know we're the panelists and we're offering, but this is also really special. We need this because I don't have a lot of spaces like this with, with other women my age to do this. So thanks.
Could I add a little like note of
ahead.
advice for our water signs? I hired a teacher, Ayurvedic specialist and yoga teacher. He was just like a real deep guy. His name was actually Deep, but he gave me a parable, and it just resonated with me this morning. And I was like, I need to deliver this message. So he said to me, I wrote it down. He said, how does water remember itself if it's always moving forward? And I don't know how that translates in your life, but for me, that is the reason why I give myself time. I know I'm always moving. So if I get grounded, I surround myself with earthy, beautiful, stable beings who were created to support the force of what I'm bringing through in a way to guide me in a path that's not going to cause a storm, but just create forward momentum in my energy field, So I just challenge you to like, remember you are water. It's okay to slow down. You a force anyway. You could be sitting still and be a force, still be wearing that something and be sitting completely still and be changing the shape and form of something, be frozen and expand, right? You gotta remember your element. So just remember how God created you,
I love that. All right. Well, my last water sign before I let the fire close out this conversation, La, what are one of your key takeaways from today's conversation, or anything that you would like to share, really?
I have two. Okay. So one is Giovanna, Gigi. You're the only person I wasn't able to stalk on the gram because we just got confirmation, I think this morning, yesterday, you're going to be in a panel. So I didn't get to see your vibe, but as soon as you opened up your mouth, you're confident. It's the confidence for me. Like I could tell you're a powerhouse, and I'm attracted to that. And I was like, I like her. What she got to say? Like, I just took away, like, do I come across like that? I want to be a powerhouse. I want to be like standing in my power. I knew whatever you had to say was going to be good. That's how I felt. And then my other takeaway from today really comes from somebody that's not on the panel, but someone that's in the chat, Naomi Cox. And what I took away from her and her comments is her breaking what I think is generational curses of what am I trying to say, of the era she grew up in. And I am personally dealing with someone like that in my family right now. And for me, it was just very solidifying some of the things I already felt and some of the things that I know that this person is also struggling with because she's struggling with it. So you being on here today, even though you weren't a panelist, was very like, you were meant to be here for me personally. I feel like I was being selfish. So that's all. Thank you.
Yay. Okay. Shout out to Auntie representing. We see you, Auntie. And last but not least, our fire sign on the panel. She's going to share what are some of your key takeaways from today?
Man, so many. First of all, I love being around water signs because y'all help balance me because I'm all fire and literally like sun, moon, and rising, Sagittarius, Aries, and Leo, respectively. Yeah, so it's a lot all the time. And so I would just say like, thank y'all and everybody in the chat, especially Naomi, for sharing, being vulnerable. For me, it's good to know, and it's a great reminder from the universe. Oh, okay, there we go. Sorry, I think my thing moved. It's a great reminder from the universe that we're not alone on this journey, and that even the similar things. Keyshawn made this whole beautiful presentation, like she always does, without talking to us. But everything we said was up there. Like everything that we said was up there. All of these things, like I was like, man, self-care is not selfish, it's a myth. And then it popped up, and I was like, look, boom, confirmation, baby. So I just am grateful to have these spaces. And then my big takeaway, before Gigi and everybody said it, before also Kenya said it, is time. Because when I'm not gonna lie, when Gigi said she does 4 hours in the morning, I started getting itchy at my neck, like, whoo, Jesus, 4 hours. But then I started thinking about it and I was like, why am I not worth that? And also whatever you do and however you choose to spend your time shows the universe like what they want to get back to you. So if I slow down, and even though I'm not a water sign, if I pause for a moment, then I'm able to really connect with myself. Like I'm worth all of the time and everything that I need. So I'm going to challenge myself with all of my fire to slow down. Even though, I do take time for myself, I can take more. And what does that look like in a life that I create where I do slow down? So that is my big takeaway. And I challenge all of y'all 2 things. 1, to do something every day that brings you joy solely for the purpose of bringing yourself joy, not for nobody else. I don't make flowers for anybody else. I make them for myself. And then 2, to take a little bit more time for yourself. If you normally meditate for 5 minutes, give yourself 10. It don't got to be nothing crazy, but you can start, doing things in a way that works with your schedule.
I'm just over here so excited. I want to get up and do a whole happy dance. This has been fantastic. I want to say thank you to Lanicia for reaching out, for making the call and saying, let's do this thing. Thank you. I just want to affirm you. You are making a difference in your community. You are resilient. You are powerful. You are a powerhouse. You show up with your ray of sunshine, your light, your energy, and your joy. And that is what is keeping your doors open. And that's what's keeping your community building. Kenya, thank you for saying yes. I reached out to you like 6 days ago and said, hey, I'm going to do this thing. And you and I have connected in so many ways. Your soulfulness is so visible through your creativity, through your music, the way you show up. You were inspiration to me as a fellow mother of boys. And I appreciate you for being so open and so willing to offer some of your wisdom and just like a dose of what you have to offer to this space. So thank you for saying yes. Gigi, my girl, sister from another mister, fellow child of God, I want to say thank you again for showing up as the divine being that you are, for letting us see you and letting us experience you in such a full-bodied way. You are a full force of magic and power and healing energy. And I just am grateful for your presence in my life. And last, my girl, Carly, Sagittarius moon over here, you know what I'm saying? We united on that fires, I got a little steam on my side, a little Sagittarius in the middle. I want to say thank you for introducing me to the practice of radical self-care, of radicalizing these practices and understanding that the way you present things is in a way that is firm, that is also objective, and lets people know that you can do it. It's available, it's accessible, and it doesn't have to be complicated. And I see that in you, and you have a very unique way of explaining things and presenting things. I love your analogies. I love your lists. It makes me very happy to share space with you. So thank you again for saying yes to this. Thank you to Auntie and Karma and everybody who's on the panel and everybody who listened and tuned in with us today. We appreciate your presence. We appreciate your participation. please be sure to tap in with everybody that you got a chance to see here today. We all have something to offer. We all have something unique. And that's all I have for you. I'm going to give you my last page of my presentation. Thank you. There it is. Thank you for being here. A little self-care goes a long, long way. So before we close the room, if there's any final people in the chat who had any questions or anything you wanted to drop in, I'll keep the space open a little bit longer. And before we go, we're going to close out with some collective deep breathing. So I have a raised hand from Miss Karma. Go ahead, my sister.
I was like, you know me, I like to follow directions. So raise your hand. That's how you go, guys. Yeah. But yeah, just wanted to say, I'm proud of all of you. Obviously, this is my blood vagina sister, as we call ourselves. That's our auntie, basically our second mother. So if it wasn't for the two of them, other than my actual mom, I don't think I would be the very confident, resilient, strong woman that I am today. So I'm just, grateful for the space that y'all create. G, you already know how I feel about you. I love you, girl. I'm so proud of you. God's hand is like so upon you, and it's like so evident, and it just makes me excited for my faith walk. And I'm like, yeah, this is what it looks like. Pretty awesome. Yeah. So always have love for you, Lala, for Carly. So much love. Y'all are like two sunbeams together. It's like a starburst. It's a lot of energy. It's very sweet and tangy at the same time. I love it. Kenya, your smile is so vibrant. It's so vibrant. Just meeting you today, but I trust my sister with my life. So if she has connected to you, then therefore I honor you as well. So thank you all again, and just love you, love you, love you, love you.
I have to say that I stalk Karma, your sensual dancing, the posts that you make. I so badly want to do more of that. So I'm like, okay, I've got to subscribe to her thing. I wish I was in California so I could physically be there, but I'm just got to figure this out. I love, love, love that. So you don't know me, but I've been watching all your videos and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go and do this. So that's my message to you. Yeah.
This is great. So much love. So much love here. I want to say thank you, everybody, again for being here. And I'm going to wrap us out with some collective deep breaths, a little micro dose of meditation. So I just want to invite each of you to find a comfortable position for your body if you have not already done so. And if you'd like to close your eyes, you're welcome to do so, or maybe just lower your gaze to a comfortable position. And before you do anything differently, just take a moment to observe what's happening in your body right now. And then when you are ready, let's take 3 deep breaths together, breathing in through the nose and releasing out through the mouth. 2 more. Deep breath in. Long breath out. Last one together. Deep breath in. Hold for just a moment. Let that energy, that vibration, that sensation fill your body. And as you exhale, exhale with an audible sigh. Love, love, love. You deserve this moment of pause, this moment of stillness. This daily practice of radical self-care is available, accessible. It is your birthright to care for yourself. And we encourage you to do just a little bit more each and every day. When you're ready, go ahead and blink open your eyes. All right. Bye, ladies. Thank you.
Thank you for holding this space. This was so dope.
Yay! Yes, 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 yes.
Oh, man.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. Thank you, everybody. I will release you into the rest of your Sunday. So
When's the next
Bye.
one?
when's the
When's
next one? We're gonna have a meeting. We're planning a meeting. We'll let y'all know. We'll let y'all know.
Okay.
There will be an Elevate Lab every month. So
Here we
Thrive
go.
Health Lab
I was just about to
Right.
say that
Yeah, there
every
you go,
month we'll
Lab.
have a
Absolutely.
different Elevate Lab. Each Elevate Lab is a little bit different. It may be a panel, it may be a workout, it may be vision boarding. It's kind of what is needed. We kind of have it pre-planned, but as you know, the world changes every day. So if something comes up in our community, we may change it. But yeah, just stay tuned. We'll keep it posted. But another one of these, I don't know, you got to talk to Keisha.
I'll keep y'all posted. Make sure you're on the mailing list and you get the email. So, all right,
Okay.
y'all. Have a good one.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.